Hi everyone, thanks a lot for joining us for this interview. I'm Louis Tellier, a reporter at The Big Well, which is powering this podcast. The primary mission of this European media, because we are still based in Europe and more that in Paris, is to bridge the gap between the traditional world and the crypto space and ultimately building trust in a still too often, trustless world. I can say we agree about this, Tien, and maybe for people just came early in this in this space, so in this live and in the crypto space. I'm pleased to host Tien Lee. So Tien, you are a co-founder of Pendle and currently the CEO of the one of the fastest growth maybe DeFi protocol we have seen in the last 6 months. So thank you to be with us for almost 15 minutes to get 50 minutes sorry together. And yes, we're gonna see why Pendle succeed so fast first. So you can summarize for us what's happened during the last 6 months. To my point of view, personally, I use Pendle because it was one of the only protocol, in my opinion, to offer the leverage about points, about the airdrop, and about the wave of the restaking. So it has been a very good move for you to go in this wave. Very very smart because you have been launched right now since almost 3 years ago, more than that maybe.
Yeah.
So it has been a very nice move, and you are not new in the space. And for me, another reason of your success was the fact that you proposed a system to counter the impermanent loss with your AMM. So a new AMM, we saw. I was a liquidity provider on Uniswap on a V3, so it has been a little pain when you want to to get back your stable coins, for example, or not your stable coin, but it was your ETH, and you see, oh, all right, it's not so a good case to be a liquidity provider. But as I said in this intro, Tien, we want to bridge the gap between the crypto space and the traditional world, and a large part of our audience is from the traditional world. So in France, we have a very large banks. So for example, BNP. So they are listening maybe because they are engaged in the big world. So my first question: if you were meeting a traditional player like a bank or a traditional asset manager, how would you pitch Pendle to them? You are in a meeting room. What's happening?
So Pendle utilizes the concept of rate swap to enable fixed rates as well as yield speculation for with implied leverage for different types of users. Now, typically, what we see bigger whales, say the likes of institutions, typically these entities would prefer to use Pendle to lock in fixed yield. And then the retail users are users who are more adventurous and more bullish on points for specific protocols. They would be trading on the other side to be the counterpart. So they would be the ones taking on the more speculative side of yield and bet on the potential upside. Now, so in the last couple of months, I think we've seen how these interactions play out. If I recall, back in April period, when points were at its peak, fixed yield for ETH and for USDE were really, really attractive. At one point in time, when just before USDE, sorry, just before Ethena had the
Yes.
launchpad, the PT was generating about 100% fixed yield. So that was how much people were very like people. It was just a very good indicator of how bullish the users in the community were for ENA token. And then, yeah, similarly, I think for ETH assets, EtherFi, Renzo have seen very, very healthy fixed yield as well, ranging from 40 to 60% because of the community views, bullish views on points.
And why how it came to leverage points, because okay, you can earn on stable coins, for example, you can be a liquidity provider, that's so classic. But why did you choose to focus specifically on points? Why you saw a really huge occasion to leverage and to be in the game in this way?
Yeah, so I think like
Because it's very ambitious. It's very it's a huge bet. So that's why I'm asking
yes,
the question.
I think this also stems from the culture of Pendle as well. So as you pointed out, we've been around today. This year is actually our fourth year running Pendle.
Yes.
So
So you're not
we
new.
start.
That's why. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not new. We've actually been iterating Pendle either at the product level or at the narrative layer. So at least like I think when we launched Pendle V1 in June of 2021, it didn't get a lot of traction. So we gave it some time and observed how users interacted with the protocol. And then with the learnings, we incorporated those observations and the just new findings into the development of Pendle V2, which was launched in December of 2022. And this current implementation is still consistent with what we released back in December of 2022. So I think when the product was out, we had to figure out ways to get adoption. And by now, I think we have refined our approach quite substantially compared to, let's say, like a year and a half
Mm.
ago. We started out wanting to find a positioning for Pendle, and we tried out many different narratives. And I don't think a lot of people knew this, but at one point in time, we were trying to use Pendle for, affiliate Pendle with NFT communities, like
Okay. Interesting.
8 Point,
Mm.
looks rare. We were launching all these markets just to appeal to a crowd with an interest in crypto. Those didn't work out, but they were very important learning points for us. Eventually, I think our first breakthrough was in January of 2020, like January, February period of 2023, when we identified ETH staking to be a major narrative of last year and figure out an angle to assert ourselves in there. Now I would be honest, right? I think when we try to position Pendle as a staking protocol,
Yeah.
it was a bit forceful. It was forceful, but eventually, with constant iteration and reinforcement of ideas, I think we were able to align the brand with a couple of other protocols that were very, very deep in the staking segment. So I think that eventually helped our positioning. So we were able to leverage on all these other brands as well as the staking trend to give us a boost in growth. And then similarly, I think we've done that multiple times. Now, so specific to points, to be honest, I don't think we saw how points would be as big as
Mm.
it is or it was a couple of months ago, right? We were also, I mean, like we were practically just doing our thing. We identified a narrative that we thought would be meaningful in the space, and we created markets for it. So that was how we went in.
You start with point. Interesting. As I mentioned in this introduction, you experienced strong growth in 2024 with a TVL that exceeded maybe $6 billion. Yeah, it was more than that. But during this summer, you also experienced a drastic decrease in this TVL too. So
Mm.
it was almost by 50%, something like that. It was not like that, but it was quite. If you define a time lapse of 1 month, maybe, or something like that. So it was huge and very new for you because you experience a very high growth.
Mhm.
We will discuss all of this, but first, um, you have a very intense 6 months. I want to focus on this last 6 months. What are your main conclusion do you draw from it, from this six last months experience a growth like that? For example, did you increase your workforce, for example? So um, what what's your experience about this? Because
Yeah.
it has been very high and very new and very surprising. So
Yeah, so I think it all came pretty quickly, and the first $1 billion TVL was very, very defining
it's
for
very
us.
symbolic. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because like we tried so hard last year and we were only able to top at $250 million. Sorry, yeah, 250 million.
Mm,
This year, we were doing more or less the same things, but because of changes in market condition and narrative, we were able to exceed our own expectation in by a big magnitude. So the first billion was very, I'd say, like quite surreal when we hit the first $1 billion TVL. Subsequently, the mindset changed. Every time we have like a $500 million additional TVL, the question for us is how do we keep growing? So I think there is a switch in the mindset. So I think to take a step back, right, relative to I guess most other protocols, we have always been focused on growth.
mm,
So of course, like we would enjoy the good times, but we have always been focusing on like what's next. Even until today, we are looking at the roadmap and what we can potentially become with maybe 2 to 3 years time horizon at least. But of course, like we have much more in the pipeline, but we have to do things step by step.
mm.
So in terms of like the conclusion, right? I I think maybe not so much conclusion. Maybe it's more like yeah, just after going through like that process, what I learned is that yeah, ultimately I think market is very cyclical, and in times good times and bad times, it's extremely important to stay level headed. So we've been through like really bad times, right? In because we started out in 2020, and then we launched in 2021. The market was good, but it wasn't very favorable to a new product like us. So we didn't
Yes,
have a lot of
mm,
traction.
that's true. Yeah.
2022 was actually a very bad year because Luna collapsed and then Three Arrows and then FTX, Celsius, and many other blow ups. So we didn't see a lot of traction as well. And I think during then, we had to re just instill confidence in team members, give them the longer term plan, just so that they can um, stay in the game and continue to build. That was actually very difficult because when you see everyone around you
Yeah.
collapsing or self imploded, it's hard not to be affected. And then token price just kept tanking, right? 2023 was also a difficult year, but we tried because we had a product in place, and I think what we did quite differently compared to many other protocols was that we attempted with even making very small attempts to differentiate ourselves and also make ourselves top of mind. I think all those implementations compounded,
Mm,
and I think like yeah, when the market turned more favorable, we were able to stay ahead. Yeah, right now because we have had been through we've been through a relatively good time. Now we also have to just tell the team members to again stay level headed because things can come very quickly and then everything gets inflated. But I'm of the opinion that whatever comes quickly can also disappear very quickly. Now,
yes.
this is not to say that I anticipated a 50% drop in TVL, but I think we are prepared that if this is what was going to happen, we know how to deal with it. So we don't panic. If anything, I think the good thing that we took out of that maturity event in June, which saw 50 like about $3 billion of TVL left the Pendle system.
Yes.
I think that the good side of that is that the protocol actually works as intended because we were able to facilitate redemption with no hiccup.
Mm,
Everyone got their money. The protocol functioned as intended, and I think that gave more people confidence in the work of the protocol. So we are. I'm of the opinion, and I'm pretty confident that when like in a year or two, when there is another major trend that we're able to capture, we will be able to facilitate trading, transactions, and redemptions with marginal hiccup, and that's how we stay relevant.
Okay, okay. That's a good start. Thank you for the lots of insight from your experience. I recall to the audience that of course you can ask your question. I received many um, more focus on the French and European audience, so we can. I don't know if you know a little bit where your users are coming from. Do you have a little bit an overview? I know it's difficult as a DeFi protocol most of the time, of course, but do you have a little bit an overview? It's more in United States, in Asia, in Europe. I know there is the regulation sometimes is very tough, and we have to be careful what you are saying. But do you have an overview about your user?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't really have a very clear overview
Oh,
because we have not tracked, and I don't think we have a
that's a
very
good answer, maybe. That that's
meaningful
just,
way to yeah, just very clearly point out like where our users are coming from.
okay, okay.
Yeah, but in terms of community development, I'd say like most of our users are English speaking,
Hmm.
and we are also doing grassroots activities around like um, domestic markets. For example, Indonesia,
Hmm.
we just had small
Community
events,
events,
yeah,
yeah.
community events in Bali just last week, and then we're hoping that we can also do a bit of activities in South Korea, and
Okay,
then
and in Europe,
try-
maybe.
in Europe maybe.
Are you planning to come in Europe?
Yeah, I will
It's going to
be.
be a pleasure to receive you in France or in France, yeah, in Paris, if you want to
Oh,
come.
I love that. I love Paris. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Interesting. It's a perfect transition that you mentioned about the TVL. That's drop because for now you are not longer an outsider. You are more anticipated. So as a DeFi protocol, that's the game. What do you plan to implement to continue innovating and attracting users with the end of the risk-taking airdrop or almost? I know there is multiple season, for example, in Renzo, Etherfi, more than, but for example, in Kelp or so many DeFi risk-taking protocol. But
yeah.
what do you want to put in place to continue to attract user and for you? That's my second question. What will be the next wave of the trend for the DeFi?
Yeah, sure. So I think as a pretext, right? It's important to note that in my view, I think points trading will be relevant for a long time,
Okay.
but it is not going to give the kind of premium that we saw a couple of months ago. So points trading will evolve.
And why? Why? That's interesting to saying that.
Sure. Yeah. So let's just use an example, right? Like back in January this year, if you're a good project and you issue points, people would want to trade your points. They want to accumulate your points, right? Now, if you're a shit project back in January and you issue points, chances are you'll probably do quite okay because points has a novel element to it, and as long as it's novel, generally people in crypto would crave for it. But as we've seen in the last, like over the last couple of months, I think the community has wisened up and no one wants to overpay for points anymore.
Mm,
So I think, relatively speaking, as we continue on, if you're a good project, the points will still command a lot of demand. But if you're a shit project, introducing points will not make a difference. So my reading here is that the view for points will gravitate towards the sentiment towards of the protocol. It,
okay.
it, yeah, effectively, a good project will continue to have like if they issue points, just like let's say like recently Babylon, they are very sought after. If they issue points, I'm fairly sure that a lot of people will want to trade it.
Mm,
But if a shit project issue points, no one's going to care. So this is I think the new reality of points trading, and I think points has proven to be a very good and effective way for protocols to gain initial traction, and I don't
Mm.
think that's going to change.
And to
It is
bootstrap the
actually,
product, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, totally.
it involves real money, so it's real traction. It's not like the test net,
No,
where like people pay some money to try to jack up the transaction activity, but none of that matters ultimately,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I know what you
This
mean.
is yeah, this is real money. It is kept on a, I mean, like it is tracked by points, so you can actually see the contribution of a wallet to the protocol in real time. And I think, yeah, it is actually a very effective ways for protocols to gain traction. Now, on top of that, I think points are also very effective in helping with the price discovery for protocol tokens. So as we've seen in the last couple of a few examples, right, of protocols that Pendle had worked with, Ethena, EtherFi, Renzo,
Mm.
when they conducted the TGE on Binance, I think the token price had some reference to the points that were traded. So points trading has a added benefit of becoming a reference for price discovery. Now, this is my opinion, right? And I think it will continue to be the play. Now, where Pendle comes in is to continue to facilitate this sort of transactions and activities.
Okay,
I
yeah,
think where Pendle can best value add to a protocol is to help with the trading of points so that they can bootstrap initial traction. And once that can be achieved, then they have like actual TVL that can potentially help them with the price discovery of the token. They can fetch better valuation, and all that can result in much more organic traction further down. So the strategy for Pendle is to identify good projects to work with moving forward, especially
okay,
prior to token event, and then continue to help them grow.
okay,
So
okay. Interesting.
yeah, to the second part of the question, right, where we are seeing activities right now is actually the Bitcoin segment, and this is where we are also
It's gonna
looking
be
to.
one of my question. Yeah, interesting. Okay, let's go. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll tell you my view. I think so. I've actually, in numerous occasions, mentioned that we're going to be involved in Bitcoin. Um, our thesis is actually very simple. If we take aside all the noises in crypto and focus on measures and implementations that can move big money, it's usually just a couple of trends, right? Like I think by now Ethereum has proven, like restaking and staking uh, segment has proven to be very effective in capturing new liquidity from external sources. I think Bitcoin is going to be another one as well
Mm.
because Bitcoin is the single largest asset in crypto. Bitcoin is the poster child of crypto, and Bitcoin for a long time does not have meaningful ways to generate yield for the holders. Right now, through DeFi, users can actually generate APYs regardless of like 1 2%. As long as there's avenue to generate wealth for users, I think there will be demand for it. It might not be hundreds of billions of dollars on day one. It will probably start off with like say tens of millions, and then
Okay,
gradually grow. But I think with time, people will become more comfortable with this sort of implementation, and I think the yield generating Bitcoin will become a very normal standard. So we want to be involved in this particular segment early on and help cultivate the growth of this segment, and continue to push for adoption on this front.
okay. So for you, the next wave of the restaking after the Ethereum, after the restaking on Ethereum, that's going to be on Bitcoin for you. And with the trading of points, for example, it's not the case, but maybe probably on Babylon, for example, on some project like that, we're going to see an increase in the multiplication of that points, and Pendle going to allow like on Ethereum to trade point in the same way as you done with Ethereum on I don't remember Renzo Etherfi or some player like that. It is correct to say that?
Yeah, so this is the target. We
Okay,
will have
and
to make some adjustments because
okay,
now times change and the kind of assets that we're dealing with is different.
okay.
But by and large, I think the theme
And
is
what do
going.
you mean by that? It's a different asset. What do you mean?
Yeah, Bitcoin and ETH, different kind of ethos, different
Okay.
kind of community. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, different kind of community. That's really true to say that.
yeah,
You know, Tien, I receive a lot of questions about the V3 of Pendle, when that's gonna be launched, and
yeah,
what we can have in this new version of Pendle. Because, for example, most of the time there is something it's coming back in the game. It's a permissionless pool, for example. So can you just give us some view about the V3 and when it's going to be launched and effective on Pendle?
yeah, sure. So V3, I think I won't be able to share a lot of details today, but I can give a high level overview of how we're looking at. I mean, some motivation why we wanted to build
Yes.
V3. So effectively, I think, okay, at a high level, V3 is a leverage yield trading product. So we go back to the original vision of Pendle, which is to push boundary
Hmm.
within the yield market, because crypto is a lot of it is yield. Like we're looking at APY, APR, and
It's an optimization, yeah, for everything. Yeah.
yeah. So I think yield trading has been something that we want to focus on, and we think there's a lot more work to do there. We observe inefficiencies in the current implementation of V2, and we think we can do better by introducing a new upgrade. Sorry, it's not an upgrade. It is a completely new implementation that will coexist with V2, and
Okay.
enlarge the market. So, as an example, right, V2, if you're a user and you want to trade yield, V2 will serve the purpose, but you will not be able to trade yield in size. So, for example, if you want to speculate on YT of EETH, 100K of EETH purchase will represent maybe $1 million of notional value. Now, if the
Hmm.
pool is new and it's not deep, you would incur pretty significant price impact. We're looking at maybe 2 to 5%. 2 to 5% price impact on 50K, 100K kind of YT trade size. So
Hmm.
this is not very meaningful.
No.
So, and especially like if you're a big fund and you want to trade, maybe you just want to buy YT because you want the upside potential, or you want to sell YT because you want to lock in your rates, right? If you have, if you want to process like millions of dollars of YT, but every time you can only execute in like 50K, 100K clips, it's going to be very torturous. And
Yes.
on top of that, there's
Yes, I
price
confirm.
impact.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So this is where I think we see a bottleneck. We are missing out opportunities that we could have capitalized on, but because of limitation on our current product, we missed out on some of these opportunities. This is why we decided to work on a new implementation to cater to trading in size, as well as to be more agnostic to ecosystem. So another bottleneck that we have at the moment is every time we want to support a new asset on a different
Hmm.
ecosystem, we'll
Yeah.
have to have like a new Pendle implementation. So we've heard many requests from the community, right? When are you going to Solana? It's not as simple because if we want to support an asset on Solana, we have to deploy a Pendle implementation on Solana first and
Hmm.
then support the asset there. I think there is a demand and we have that in the pipeline. But with the current V2 implementation, I think this is we have to factor in like maybe months of development time just to
Okay.
be able to support.
So it's like so Etienne, for the Solana implementation, as you mentioned, it's a question of months to have a range of time, just to give to your audience. It's you talk about months.
Yeah, but if we have V3, we become more chain agnostic.
Okay.
And
Okay.
if there are new, I mean, we don't have to confine to just Solana, right? But there could be an interesting asset on, let's say, like a new L3, L4, whatever it is, right?
Okay.
We can
Yeah. Yeah.
support that more easily. So I think these are the bottlenecks that we've identified in V2 implementation, and we want to work on a new solution to just allow us to enlarge our addressable market.
Okay, interesting. Are you going to use a chain abstraction solution, for example? I'm thinking about, it's not the case. I remind the audience, but for example, with Socket, for example, it's possible to use a player like that me to be more like chain agnostic. Sorry, as you mentioned.
Well, it's a possibility,
Okay.
but we will leave out the details for now.
Okay, but just to give an overview of the
Yeah, but the
of the
vision
audience.
is there. Yeah,
Okay. Okay, I'm going to continue in this area.
yeah.
Um, is it interesting for you to launch your own chain, your own blockchain, or I don't know,
Mm,
it could be anything, your L2, L3, or
yeah.
anything. Is it relevant for you?
I think, to be honest, I think not so relevant
Okay.
because I think everything has to, like, if we want to do something, it has to make sense. Like, there's
Hmm.
got to be a good justification why we do certain things, right? At this point in time, in the absence of any meaningful traction for Pendle V3, I wouldn't say that, yeah, I don't think it would make sense for us to consider launching an L2. Now, V2, as it is right now, works on Ethereum and many other L1, L2s. It will be okay. But V3, because we expect it to be able to support like higher frequency trading, we will start off with on a new like on an ecosystem that can support that kind of throughput. If by yeah, if we are able to hit a good traction and we are starting to stretch the throughput of the chain, whatever chain that we're deployed on, then it would make sense for us to consider an L2 or L3 or an app chain implementation.
Okay.
So I wouldn't dismiss that, but I think it has to make sense in order for us to go to that step.
Okay. And what do you mean by to have a huge audience? It's like in terms of TVL, for example. It's a level of using, of traction, of volume. What do you mean by that?
I think it's a matter of like trading frequency
Okay.
because yeah, let's just say yeah, Ethereum right now, I mean, it's not able to process a lot of transactions a second.
It's better in terms of fees and this time. Really appreciate that. So
Yeah,
enjoy it.
yeah. Yeah. Now it's actually much more affordable. But like when in a bull market, it can be really congested and drives up the cost. Then we look at V2, sorry, L2s, and I think these are like considerations there. So L2s, like if we get to a stage where a user has to change the like their trade position very very quickly in a very short span of time, all those little gas costs could add up.
Hmm.
So at that point in time, we might have to consider a different kind of implementation to allow some of these yeah, like high frequency trading activities to take place. But we're
Okay.
not there yet. Yeah.
Okay. I'm receiving on my personal messages some question. Maybe that could be good, Tien, if you can at least explain to the audience the order of priorities for Pendle for the
Mm.
following months. Just once again to not reveal all of the
Yeah.
details, but to have an
Yeah.
overview, of course,
Sure.
what we can expect.
Sure. So actually, for us is relatively simple. So we now have a V2 implementation. So
Yes.
V2 is going to continue to be a very important part of the Pendle ecosystem. Now, at the same time, we're developing V3, which is something that we're building in anticipation of the future future demand. So for V2, the strategy here is to stay relevant, and the way we stay relevant is to work with good teams in a theme that matters. Which in a case as we've discussed, we have a very strong view on BTC ecosystem.
Yeah.
So we would identify good project teams to work with and help them launch campaigns. If they grow, Pendle grows, and that's how we stay relevant. Eventually, I think we will continue to have to work with high quality teams and help them launch campaigns so that we can again continue to stay relevant. Now, and then the V3 side is under development. But if we take a step back and look at the resources required, V3 requires more smart contract engineering resources. V2 is more on the product side as well as the business development and growth side. So within the team, we are now structured a little differently to try to operate two different products
Okay.
with different like at their different life cycle. V2 is a bit more mature. V3 is still in development. So now engineering resources is more dedicated to the development of V3. But at some point in time, further down, we would have to also incorporate growth strategies so that we can market it to the right group of right audience and yeah, push it for adoption.
Okay. 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 Just Tien, to go a little bit outside of the subject. Um, how many people are currently working around the Pendle? I know it's more decentralized, but
Yeah.
did you increase your workforces during the last the last months?
So we have increased headcount. We are a bit more than 30 people. We've increased headcount,
Okay.
but not significantly.
Ah,
Uh, I
interesting.
am I am of the view that we should be very selective with the people we hire,
Yeah.
because I think
Especially in DeFi. Especially in DeFi.
yes,
That's
yes, we are not the fastest when it comes to hiring. We want to be very careful with the people we onboard, and the ultimate goal here is to increase the talent density within the team. Yeah, we're definitely not motivated by headcount. We want to get high quality people into the team. I think when it comes to smart contract, especially smart contract, a good
you have to put
high
trust.
quality,
Yes.
yes, the integrity is extremely important, and a good developer, just one good developer, can beat the effort of like
Yes. Of
five,
many
five, six,
people, and yeah.
5, 6 mediocre ones.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that is, I think, a difference in approach um, to many
Okay.
Web2 teams. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, interesting. So, just to stay here, how it's working if I want to be hiring by Pendle? You know, what is do you have a clear process, or yeah, how it's working?
Yeah, so um, we're always on the lookout for good talents, whether it's growth, product, or engineering. I'd say like the engineering hiring process is more structured because things are a bit more quantifiable. Whereas like for product and growth, usually we take a more like qualitative approach. So basically, we would identify good talents through like personal connection or sometimes referral, and then we would just work together for a period of a month or two. They are compensated for their time, and then yeah, whether if it does work out, we have very clear scopes as well as like clear objective, and then we use the time to observe how some of these individuals work. So the KPI is nice to hit, but it's not
Okay.
necessary. Ultimately, what we want to identify is the culture fit and whether the person has a good attitude that will contribute meaningfully to the overall productivity of the team.
Okay. So, but how it's working? I can send you a message on Twitter, and you can take a look. I don't know.
I usually take a look, yeah. Whether I
Okay.
respond or not, that is a different matter.
Okay. 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 You know, currently, what's the business model for Pendle? And are you planning to change it in the following months to support your growth and to increase your revenues and your audience?
So at this point in time, for the protocol, we are not turning on the fee tab yet. So we're generating revenue as a protocol, but all of
Hmm.
that gets distributed to the VE Pendle. In the coming months, we do have plans to start extracting a bit of fees for the team, just for maintenance, just to make sure that the operation can be sustainable. We don't expect it to be a very drastic change to the current setup, but that's something that we have further down in the pipeline. Exact time, I'm not sure yet. We want to make it more meaningful. Like right now, we're growing. I am not sure how drastic the effect would be if we were to turn on the fees. At some point in time, when we are hopefully when we're much bigger, we turn on the fees, and then maybe it would be more meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I know it's a tricky question, so that's very sensitive. So do you have some plan about your token? To you mentioned the fees, for example. Are you planning some new thing around this for the Pendle token?
So high level, I don't think there will be major changes to the current token utility, but we will definitely incorporate components for the Pendle tokens into V3.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Interesting.
like V3 generates fees, and then that should also funnel back to the VE Pendle holders. How VE Pendle fits into V3, that is also I think something new that we have to address as well.
Okay. 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 You mentioned the corporates. Did you see major changes about the interest, especially from the traditional side of, for example, funds or hedge fund, for example, or it's still very focused on the DeFi. I mean, by OG or by very some traditional, but from the DeFi, or there is a huge interest, even to just chat with you, for example, or for with the team. Where we are, my question is very simple. Is it still relevant to say we are still really early about DeFi?
Yeah, I think we're still early. So
Okay.
your points about whether there are like TradFi institutions approaching us,
Yes.
in short, no. I think because like our product is actually very crypto native.
Yes. But that could
We
be very
deal
relevant with your system of token, for example, to trading derivatives. So that's why that could be interesting in a tokenized world, for example.
Yeah, perhaps. So I think that is definitely a use case that we're interested in further down. But we have in mind a use case that is more crypto native to begin with for V3. And then over time, we would expand the scope to allow for different types of use cases for different user groups.
Okay. So what can we know a little bit more about your idea about this?
I think, yeah, I'm not ready to go too deep into it.
Okay.
Yeah, but it will still be focusing on rates. So crypto rates at a high level, rates that are native to crypto. That those are the things that we want to focus on.
Okay. 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 Tien, are you afraid by some, the rising of some competitors? But because for me, it's very difficult to find very identify like the product of Pendle about competitors. So, did you see some protocol similar to you, or because for me it's very surprising. There is some player they're trying to launch a product a little bit like yours, but for me, it's very surprising because if it's working so well, why so much other DeFi protocol they didn't launch since the last months?
So I think Pendle is it's not that easy to do a
To copy
fork.
past,
Unlike
yeah.
Yeah, unlike a money market like Aave and Compound,
Mm.
Pendle is quite backend heavy. So that means a lot of components needed to be they're not open source basically.
Yes.
So not it's not that simple to do a one-to-one like one-to-one replicate. So I think there is a bit of a technical moat there, and on top of that, most of the time I think users would gravitate towards product with existing liquidity.
Mm.
So for new products, they can be a one-to-one replica, but the liquidity consideration is still it still has to be addressed. And if there's no liquidity,
Yes.
users wouldn't want to go there to trade because there's nothing to trade. Yeah, but I also want to emphasize that whether I'm afraid of competition, I think at this point in time is not very relevant. We have to focus on the longer term plans. Again, like we've been through many different iterations and we've committed a lot of mistakes, and all this are learning points for us. I suspect that new teams that are coming up and they want to work in the same segment, they would also have to go through similar process, the kind of journey that we've been through, committing
Mm.
mistakes and just do a lot of trial and error and experimentation. So I think yeah, at least like from our perspective, we are comfortable in the position that we're at, but we're definitely not resting on laurels. We have much more that we want to deliver in the next year. What we have in the pipeline, I'm definitely very excited about. I hope to be able to share with you, yeah, maybe in a couple of months' time.
Okay. I will try to have some details, but can we talk about because I hear we talk before, of course.
Yeah.
Is it possible to talk about some partnerships you want to launch, especially about stablecoins, for example, or it's still
Hmm.
too early? I mean stablecoin, not on Ethereum. You know what I mean, and not on Solana. You know what I mean too.
Uh, uh, I'll take a pass.
Oh, you take a pass. Okay, 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 okay.
Yeah.
But that will be in the big well first. Can we have a deal?
Yeah. I think like my teammate, like right side, he will always inform a bit ahead of time.
Okay, okay, okay. But we can expect in a close future so many you're gonna integrate so many projects from the Bitcoin side. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Um,
We yeah, we want to go more aggressive on that front, and then
okay,
yeah, just go out and do our best to grab good partnerships and help protocols grow.
okay. We have it's still time for the audience to ask some question. We have maybe 5 minutes left together. Um, I have a question. We talk about lots of things, but you talk about to optimize, for example, the swap on the Pendle, on the way to bring in liquidity. What do you mean by that? And what kind of problem did you identify? Even if you talk a little bit about this, but I want to go a little bit deeper on that. What will be your plan about, for example, the swap of the optimization of the liquidity?
Um,
You're looking for a new note.
no, no, no. I'm just thinking how to
Yeah.
because
I
it's
know
it's
it's
hard.
never easy. I know it's never easy with
Yeah.
journalists. Or,
The this question, I think it touches on the technical design of it, like the YTPT side of things, and also how we intend to address it in V3. V3 is going to be a leverage yield trading protocol. And let's just say that capital efficiency is going to be one of the main considerations of the design. We want to facilitate bigger trade sizes with, like, say, a fixed amount of liquidity, versus in the case of an AMM. Maybe let's just say, hypothetically speaking, right, $1 of liquidity might only be able to facilitate, say, $10 of trade volume. In the
Okay.
case of V3, we're hoping to do, again, with $1 of liquidity, maybe we can do $20, $30 of trade value. So this is
Okay.
how we're looking to improve the capital efficiency. And and yeah, basically this is, I think, one of the core design principles that motivated the whole conception of V3.
Okay. Okay. There is a question coming. I know we talk about this, but can you just confirm that you're gonna go on Solana, and why it's interesting for you to go on Solana? Because for Solana, that's gonna be huge for the stablecoins, for example, because there is no many stablecoins still on Solana, and that's mean you can get some very interesting yield at the beginning to bootstrap or the pool, and maybe for the meme coin, because you know very well the meme coins. So
Sure.
can you just remind the audience about this and summarize your interest to go on Solana?
Yeah, so I think Solana is a very, it's a maturing ecosystem. The DeFi primitives over there, over on Solana, are very established. There are good products there, a vibrant ecosystem, good set of developers that can support sustainable growth. And I think the conditions are very, very attractive. Whether I have no comments on whether we will go on to Solana or not. Um, but I'd say, yeah, relatively speaking, I think it's a matter of time.
Okay. So it's relevant to expect that Pendle soon, not soon, but in one day on Solana, or soon maybe. I hope so.
Yeah, again, it's hard to comment on the time, but I think it's a matter of time.
Okay, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So the cooking is finished. Tien, thank you for your time. Maybe we have 2 minutes more to remind that this big talk, so this podcast was powered by the Big Whale, and yeah, we are based in France, and in almost in Europe. We're going to expand. We have lots of plan to expand first in Europe and around the world. For many people, we're going to be in Asia during September. So don't hesitate to reach out to take a tea or coffee or to talk about your project and the Asia ecosystem, because it's huge, especially about DeFi, and especially about Bitcoin. I know a huge interest around Bitcoin in Asia. And yes, the last yeah, I'm to talk about the Bitcoin, we just made an interview with Shankar Banerjee. So he's a chief protocol economist at Babylon. So you can go on YouTube on the Big Well channel and watch this. So of course, I encourage you to go in. And yeah, maybe a last word for you, Tien. What will be your last word? And maybe if you want to add something, or just to say goodbye, and thanks again for your time.
Yeah, no. So not much to add, and really just appreciate your time and asking good questions.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
thanks for having me.
I've been you were very good very good guy to answer, and yeah, we wish very good luck for the huge roadmap of Pendle in the coming months. So thanks again for the entire audience. We lots of people to hear. Maybe I know it's late. You're in South Korea, Tien.
No, no, I'm not in South Korea, but
Ah,
I'm
okay,
close
okay.
by. Yeah,
Okay, so but you are in Asia, so it's late in Asia. So that's just
yeah,
to wish you a good evening, good work if you have still on the table. And yes, thanks again for all the audience. And see you later for another big talk. Thanks again,
Thank,
Tian.
thank you so much.